Heyo, Alice here. I want to start by saying that I'm not terribly fond of the Iranian regime. They are brutal, despotic, and dangerous. They repress their people with a degree of savagery that is exceptional even among despotic governments. I would welcome its end. But wanting something doesn't make it so. And what I'm seeing right now, with the US airstrikes against Iran, won't bring about their end. In a perverse way, it might even help them. So, let's analyze this.
Let's start by understanding the justifications. And I emphasize the plural. So what are they? What justifies using billions of dollars and breaking the MAGA, quote, America first, unquote, mantra? Is this about, regime change? Destroying Iran's nuclear program? Which the administration claims was already obliterated? And how do you obliterate something that is obliterated? Obliterated squared? Anyway, another reason is degrading missile capability. And lastly, it will prevent an imminent attack. They've offered all of these justifications, and so I want to go through each of these. In the history of regime changes, there are very few cases where a sustained bombing campaign has brought an end to a regime. And in each of those cases, like Serbia in 1999, Afghanistan in 2001, and Libya in 2011, bombing may have acted as an accelerant, but certainly not the trigger for collapse. But notice that in each case the government was brittle. Serbia had a personalist government dependent on Milosevic. The Taliban in Afghanistan had tenuous control over Afghanistan, with a well-armed Northern alliance threatening it. And, well, Gaddafi's rule over Libya was shaky in his last years because Libya had an active rebellion and fragmented security loyalties. On the other hand, the Iranian government is backed by a powerful IRGC, has potential foreign backing like Russia and China, and lacks a cohesive armed rebellion. It's not fragile. Iran isn't a thin, personalist dictatorship. It's a hybrid, theocratic Praetorian system with distributed coercive capacity. Historically, regimes fall due to internal elite fragmentation, mass mobilization, economic collapse, military defeat via ground force. Instead, what the airstrikes might do is to create a rally around the flag effect, justify an even more brutal crackdown, and greater coordination problems among protesters. So the bombing campaign might be counterproductive.
Which brings us to destroying Iran's nuclear program. Firstly, did I miss something? Didn't our brilliant master strategist claim that he had obliterated Iran's nuclear program? So I must have misheard. But regardless, bombing won't end Iran's nuclear program. They'll just move it deeper underground. We've no idea where they've kept their fissile materials. There's also satellite evidence that they may have moved their centrifuges and enrichment systems prior to the first bombing campaign, and they've kept the intellectual capital for building a bomb. Lastly, Iran's motivation for creating a bomb has just grown. The US doesn't bomb North Korea because it has nuclear weapons. So, Trump obliterating an already obliterated nuclear program isn't gonna work.
What about disarmament? This is more plausible tactically, but unlikely strategically. Iran's missile doctrine is built around mobility, dispersal, decoys, and enormous underground facilities. That makes full neutralization extremely difficult without sustained ISR, repeated strike cycles, and long-term suppression. You can degrade, but a bombing campaign can't disarm. The last justification offered is that an attack is imminent. How? They don't have ICBMs, and the technology is still years away. By 2035 if they focus on it, and so there's no risk of a missile attack on mainland US. They've had IRBMs and SRBMs for decades, so there's no imminence there, and they don't have nuclear capability as far as we know. Although a dirty bomb is always possible, but that's been a possibility for many years now, so I don't buy that either. By the way, do you know how hard it is to build a nuclear weapons program? Enrichment of U-235 to 90% plus is just the start. Even if Iran uses the simplest warhead design, the gun-type design used in Little Boy, which was used in Hiroshima, it still has to reduce the warhead size to something they can fit on a missile. And an implosion device like the kind used in Fat Man, used in Nagasaki, is many times harder. They also have to build a command and control system that prevents unauthorized launches. If our Supreme General means that there's an imminent terrorist attack, well, that doesn't make sense either, as that should fall under counterterrorism, and a military response really isn't justified. Besides, I haven't seen warnings to Americans regarding increased likelihood of terrorism. So, what's imminent? Let's ignore the international legality. The UN Security Council structure has, in recent years, proven to be unworkable because of the veto power of China and Russia, both adversaries of the US. It's not to say that it's impossible, but not likely. So let's move domestically. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the U.S. Constitution states that Congress has the power to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. Not the President. There's the War Powers Act of 1973 that requires that the President to notify Congress within 48 hours of the start of hostilities, and bars hostilities after 60 days without congressional approval. If congressional approval is not granted, U.S. forces have a 30-day drawdown period. Lastly, the two AUMFs in place, one for Iraq and the other for Afghanistan, don't apply here, and it's unlikely the administration could get away with using them. I also don't want to underestimate the escalation risk. Lots of bad things can happen. Firstly, the conflict is already regional due to Israel's involvement. Israel's already a target. But Iran is also attacking U.S. bases and assets in the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, and Iraq. As such, escalation could draw in direct military involvement of the Gulf states and/or Saudi Arabia, pull in proxy militias, non-state actors, maritime actors in the Gulf, and, external powers through security commitments. Iran doesn't need the ability to hit us with missiles to escalate, and the escalation pathways could include ongoing regional base attacks, proxy warfare involving Hezbollah and Houthis, maritime disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, Persian Gulf, Suez Canal, and the Red Sea, cyber operations which could hit the U.S., and regional infrastructure and economic targeting using kinetic weapons. Khamenei's death won't make things better. The clerical order in Iran has a succession mechanism through the Assembly of Experts, and Khamenei isn't a lone personalist leader like Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi. His killing is likely to enrage loyalists, the IRGC, hardliners, and many Shiites around the world, increasing radical recruitment and amplifying grievance framing through clerical networks linked to Qom and Najaf. Protests in Karachi stormed the U.S. consulate, and at least one protester was killed in clashes following the news. We are seeing an escalation in real time, and bombing Iran does not remove the escalation pathways available to it.
So, what we have here is a war with confused and conflicted justification that's not likely to achieve any of its aims with a questionable legal basis, and that has an escalation path that could leave us worse off. So we've got to admit, this is really poor strategic reasoning. Or there's something that none of us have visibility to. If it's the latter, I sincerely hope Congress is notified. But based on current evidence, the US attack of Iran is kind of pointless. For more interesting content, click here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, Ms. Ami.